The Romantic period, also called Romanticism. Artists were allowed freedom, experimentation, and creativity. Nationalism became popular. Many types of instruments were used. Opera and virtuoso performers became popular. The rise of the new middle classes created a new audience, seeking fresh sensations. They were powerfully drawn to emotion in the arts and music. Art song was the most important part of vocal music. There were lyrics, melody, accompaniment, and form. Written poetry turned into a musical scene that was accompanied by a piano to add more emotion. Religious choral music was performed more for festivities than for church, while secular choral music became a little popular because of nationalism and folk songs. Beethoven bridged the gap between classical and romantic era. The main instrumental traits were 1. Virtuosity or skillfulness, 2. Individualism or independence, and 3. Nationalism, which is love for country. Piano became the most popular for instrumental music. It was considered versatile and dynamic. There were also new forms like etudes, which are short compositions for solo instruments. There was also waltz, polka, and galop for dance forms. Orchestra grew in size and importance with more instruments, adding wider range of sounds and emotion. Woodwind or horn was the new favored solo instrument, and the string section was also experimented. In the symphony, there were more woodwind like bassoons, oboes, flutes, and clarinets, more brass such as trumpets, trombones, horns, and tubas, more percussion like xylophones, bells, side drums, gongs, and cymbals, and more strings as well. For the symphonic forms, there were more variations on movements. They also introduced solo voices and choral sounds. The concerto became the showpiece for virtuoso soloists and orchestra. Other symphonic forms include concert overtures, variations, suites, and dances. Chamber music was no longer used because it did not compare with the piano's power and expression, and did not have the size and sound of the symphony. Now let's talk about favorite composers of the Romantic era. First is Johannes Brahms. He composed many waltz pieces. His best works were Hungarian Dance and the well-known Brahms Lullaby. Next is Frédéric Chopin. He was the master of piano in his generation. For some of us, learning how to play the piano, he is an inspiration. He composed nocturnes, preludes, sonatas, and many more. Felix Mendelssohn Bartholdy. He wrote the famous traditional wedding march included in his Midsummer Night's Dream. Giacomo Puccini was the master of Italian opera, who wrote Madame Butterfly. Franz Schubert wrote Ave Maria and the Unfinished Symphony, who invented the form of art song called lead, which is a solo voice performing a melody to the piano accompaniment. Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky is a Russian composer who wrote the music of famous ballet performances like The Nutcracker, Swan Lake, and The Sleeping Beauty. Giuseppe Verdi was a great master of opera who wrote Aida for the opening of the Suez Canal. Once again, in summary, in the Romantic period, artists were given freedom, experimentation, and creativity. Nationalism became popular. A variety of instruments were used. Opera and virtuoso performers were introduced.